It is 6:30 p.m. Hello, good evening. Welcome to News Tonight here on GHOne Television. We are live from our studios at the Platinum Place, Northridge. Also live on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube at GHOne TV. Now, our top stories this evening. New Patriotic Party threatens massive demonstration against the Electoral Commission, showed the EC heed to the NDC's calls for a forensic audit of the voter register.
People also hit the streets to demonstrate against the Electoral Commission. Then it will also mean that the Electoral Commission is not consistent.
Also in the bulletin this evening, tension is rising between the police and organizers of a planned 3-day protest as both parties remain locked in disagreement over the demonstration's location.
Ghana Police Service has not stopped Democracy Hub from embarking on a demonstration from 21st to 23rd September as is going around.
In business this evening, ASEP calls for dismissal of ECG management members over alleged insolvency. We have a full conversation on that for you. Later and on the foreign front, Guinea Stadium massacre fugitive extradited from Liberia. We've got details of these and more coming up shortly. Stay with us. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah, grateful for your company this evening. And let's kickstart with the story where the Circuit Court at Adentown has ordered Bolt Holdings OU, the data processor for ride-hailing platform Bolt, to pay a lecturer and chief executive officer of a software solutions company, Justice Noah Adade, an amount of 1.9 million cedis as damages for identity theft. Now, this was after the court, presided over by her Anna Sedinam Awo-Kwedem, had found that the company had failed to detect the stealing of the lecturer's identity and its subsequent use by a driver. Now, it is the case of the plaintiff, Justice Noah Adade, that on August 1, 2022, he ordered a Bolt ride on his phone and found himself, his photograph, and his details being the driver thereon, who was responding to pick him up. Now, the plaintiff in his action asked the court to find that Bolt had been negligent in failing to verify the identity of the driver, hence allowing the identity theft to take place. Now, the court found that Bolt was required by Ghana's Data Protection Act to undertake a liveliness identity verification check when registering prospective drivers. Now, consequently, the court held that the plaintiff succeeded with his action and ordered Bolt to pay 1.9 million Ghana cedis as compensation. Now, in addition to the compensation, the court also directed that additional 20,000 cedis should be paid to the lecturer as cost of his legal fees. The court has further directed the Data Protection Commission to ensure a forensic audit of Bolt's systems and database to check the accuracy of the identity of all its drivers up until March 2024. The commission is also to extend the audit to all other ride-hailing platforms in the country. Well, this evening, tension is rising between the police and organizers of a planned 3-day protest as both parties remain locked in disagreement over location for the demonstration. Now, while the organizers insist on holding the protest in front of the Jubilee House here in Accra, police are determined to block the move, citing public safety and security concerns. There is more in the following report.
A major confrontation between the police and protest organizers appears imminent unless a compromise is reached before Saturday. This comes in the wake of an Accra High Court order barring demonstrators from occupying Resolution Square near Jubilee House.
Yesterday, 18 September 2024, the High Court granted an order to prohibit Democracy Hub from proceeding with the demonstration on the 21st to 23rd September at the Revolution Square.
The organizers of the intended 3-day demonstration, Democracy Hub, have vowed to defy the court order, insisting on carrying out their protest as planned.
2 barricades and a road that separates us from Jubilee House. The intention is to bring the people here so they can look at their seat of government and cry shame on those who have brought us to the brink of an environmental crisis. That is irresponsible mining that is happening, and mining that are happening in forest areas. That is the purpose of it. Now, whatever they do would not get us to resolve from the idea of protecting our constitutional rights to freedom of assembly. That's our intention, and we'll show up for that.
The protest, scheduled to take place from Saturday, September 21 to Monday, September 23, had initially been approved by the police following written notification from the organizers. The dispute, however, centers around the venue, which the police argue could compromise public safety, security, and health.
The Ghana Police Service has not stopped Democracy Hub from embarking on a demonstration from 21st to 23rd September as is going around. The only issue is that the police and the Democracy Hub disagree on the choice of location, that is the Revolution Square, for the planned protest.
Oliver Bakavomawo, convener of the Democracy Hub, has dismissed the police stance, denying any formal notice from the authorities and questioning the legality of the court order.
We haven't received or been formally served with any copy of any injunction, but we hear from the media that the police are claiming to have received a prohibition order prohibiting the protest from happening. Subsequently, they then issued a statement that they were prepared to provide security for the protest to happen. And now we are hearing others.
Under Section 4 of the Public Order Act, the police are empowered to request organizers to postpone or relocate an event if they believe it may lead to violence, endanger public safety, or interfere with the rights of others. As the weekend approaches, the question remains whether the peaceful atmosphere witnessed during the recent Enough is Enough protest can be replicated, or if tensions will escalate into a full-scale confrontation. Peter Kwao Adatos reports, GHOne News.
Well, the pressure group in response says it is surprised about the measures taken by the police and say they are unperturbed about the decision from the police. Now, speaking to GHOne News on the protest, constitutional rights and policy strategy advisor Oliver Bakavomawo accused the NPP of being behind the activities, reportedly trying to obstruct the demonstration.
His cronies and his political appointees are the main people who are doing it. So it was a nation capture, a nation disruption agenda they have. The Fourth Estate has just done a report which shows that most of the networks connected to illegal and irresponsible mining are politically exposed persons who are connected to this regime. So they took that message as their license to destroy environment, not other people. But he also didn't say that he was putting his presidency on the line. And even though he has failed, we Ghanaians have not withdrawn that presidency for him. That is what I am baffled by the most, even beyond that statement. If he says he's put his presidency on the line, we must take away that presidency because he has failed us. The police have not engaged us in any way. We are discovering a lot of these things online. We heard about an injunction in the radio. We've seen a police statement on social media as well. I think that we have always been clear that whatever come rain or shine, injunction or no injunction, we're going to show up. Because the urgency of the Galamsey conversation requires that, that usual politics and police obstruction should not matter in the way we approach. So you have a police institution that consistently has shown itself that when young people want to mobilize, they will use all kinds of obstructive measures to impede the demonstration. Now, because today we decided that, you know what, as we have done in previous times, we have respected these injunctions, even though they are unconstitutional, we're not going to do that anymore. Perhaps that is what's forcing them to change course. We're asking for 3 days to protest in a particular location. Locations which we traditionally block whenever there's a law, there's an officer, there's a visiting president who is visiting the country. And when citizens are demanding to exercise constitutional rights, it seems only fair that we can block and show people alternative access. It should be allowed for citizens to express frustration about Galamsey. I think it's a fair balance. Ours is about sustaining a conversation about demand for accountability in those who have failed us in the Galamsey fight. That is the conversation we are doing. The fear that we are now going to be a point where we have to import water because our waters are poisoned must wake us all up about what is awaiting for us.
Well, let's delve now into Insight for tonight.
Insight.
So last night, some of you in parts of Accra had to spend the night some darkness as a result of power outage. Well, energy think tank Africa Center for Energy Policy ASAP is calling for the heads of management members of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, as well as an audit of the Haptel ECG app contract over financial distress and rumors of a possible collapse of the nation's power distributor. Now, ECG has come under fire in recent times over concerns of a ballooning debt and alarming levels of under-recovery. Now, the situation has led to an alleged SOS letter from its regulator, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, to government warning of a looming insolvency of ECG. But ASAP, which is estimating between 2019 and 2023, the energy sector recorded a shortfall of $8.25 billion, is demanding that the current management of ECG be relieved of their roles. Kodjo is policy lead, petroleum and conventional energy at ASAP, and he addressed a press conference today. Listen.
ECG is not collecting enough revenue, and that is sinking the sector and the country in debt. If we do not spend the time, we are likely to end up in another debt crisis sooner than we anticipated. And that is why we are calling on the PURC, it has all the powers, to rein in ECG and provide some visibility over how much revenue it collects and how it spends it, especially on extra cash water for mechanism expenditures. We are also calling on PURC to audit the contracts with Haptel and also verify the payments that have been made so far and clarify the inconsistencies in the accounts of both ECG and Haptel. So calling on the government to relieve the current management of ECG of their jobs immediately and replace them with effective and transparent management that will salvage the company and its attendant fiscal burden on the states.
Well, still on the energy issues, former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor has questioned the timing of PURC's SOS letter about the pending insolvency of ECG to the government. Now, the Pro-East MP argues that although the concerns raised by the utility regulator are valid, nothing significant can be done less than 3 months to elections. He spoke on the Morning Star.
We are back 8 years late, and so the situation has deteriorated. However, my issue today has to do with the timing. Yes, PURC as one of the two regulators and as the economic regulator, it is right for them to draw attention of government and of stakeholders to the pending insolvency of ECG if things continue on this trajectory. However, there is also the issue of timing. ECG needs major structural reform. That cannot be done in a transition period as we are in. So yes, it is important they've drawn attention of government, drawn attention of stakeholders to the potential insolvency of ECG. However, we can't do much until after January.
Well, let's get some further perspectives on the concerns raised by ASEP at the press conference. Thankfully, we've been joined on the phone lines by Kodjo. He is the policy lead in terms of petroleum and conventional energy at ASEP. Kodjo, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So now you are demanding the heads of management members of the Electricity Company of Ghana because for you, they've contributed to where we find ourselves. And one of the reasons you cite is for revenue performance. How bad is the situation?
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Great. So we've seen ECG make losses over the years, but it is getting to a point where we have to rein the company in. If not, it will take us back into another debt distress or debt crisis like we witnessed. Currently, as we speak, ECG is only able to collect 43% of the revenues from the sale of power that it's supposed to collect. And that is simply unacceptable. Over the years, ECG has also superintended over net losses. Right? In 2017, the total net losses for the company was around 290 million Ghana cedis. In 2022, the financial report of the same company stated that the net losses is around 9.7 billion Ghana cedis. And this is something that all sector players and every assessment of the power sector points to the fact that if we don't put a stem on it, it is going to lead us to a point where we will not be able to even have the light to have the conversation that we are having now. What is even more disturbing is that all of these shortfalls from the power sector has to be assumed through the budget. And we've been doing that for the past few years now. The ESRP, for example, states that the total shortfalls from the energy sector between 2019 and 2023 is about $8.25 billion. That is how much the budget is shouldering the power sector over the period. And that means that if government is pumping money to curb the inefficiencies of the power sector, it means that it is taking away money from social spending in health, social spending in education, agriculture, and other welfare spending that the state is supposed to undertake for the betterment of the state of the country. That is how bad the situation has got. We are asking that something needs to be done.
And it's quite interesting because when we look at ECG, for instance, and the revenue shortfalls, that's why we had the app as a solution to that. But you seem to also have issues with that particular solution that was introduced to be able to curb the incidence of revenue shortfall when it comes to the Electricity Company of Ghana. Tell me about that.
I mean, an investigation, a preliminary investigation into the contract between ECG and the service provider suggests that this is just purely procurement driven. That is first of all. Secondly, this arrangement actually sets aside revenue away from the cash waterfall mechanism for whatever purpose between ECG and the service provider that we are yet to speak. So if you say you are going to use an app to increase revenue collection, and as part of that, you are taking a percentage of all revenues to some third party to do revenue collection for you, and also setting aside a fund, because with the contract we see sets a fund that the service provider has to pay some money into before they pay the balance to it.
Hello, Kodjo.
The cash waterfall mechanism that is supposed to streamline payments in the power sector.
But looking at the kind of period we find ourselves in, from now to December, there are people who have the school of thought that really nothing major can be done to turn the fortunes of ECG around within this short period, as we are heading towards a crucial election, which will ultimately result in a change of government.
No, I mean, there is a regulator of the space, right? And the commercial regulator of the space is the PRC. The PRC is still there. The PRC is not going anywhere. The ECG is also not going anywhere. So let's start. The problem that we have now is really about how fast the debt is accumulating, right? We already have legacy debt to these IPPs that we have paid, but we've not paid that. And in the meantime, while we run around, ECG and 43% collection rate that I indicated. That is on a monthly basis, which means that every month about 57% of revenue that is due the value chain is not collected, and that also accumulates as debt. So if something needs to be done, it should be done as early as yesterday. We can't say because we have elections coming, so the problems that are there, we don't fix them and leave them for a new government that should come and fix it.
Right.
So that is the right approach.
Okay. Kodjo, thank you so much. That's Kodjo Yaucha. He's policy lead, petroleum and conventional energy at ASEP. But let's take a bit longer with energy issues. And the minority in parliament is also waded into the conversation. They are demanding a comprehensive audit of the energy sector. Now, such a move, according to the NDC MPs, will not only help establish the level of indebtedness of the sector, but also its true state. Now, addressing the media in Parliament, minority spokesperson on energy, John Jinapo, accused government of attempts to sweep the challenges of the sector under the carpet, despite the over $2 billion overhang.
The energy sector debt alone, based on our rough estimates, is more than $2 billion as we speak. They are misapplying the energy sector levies revenues. They are also misapplying the energy sector recovery levy, and so clearly there's a major problem confronting us. We therefore call for a full audit of the entire energy sector, so that we'll have a fair and firm appreciation of the state of indebtedness, the state of dilapidation, so that whoever assumes office would prepare to tackle the challenges. There's an attempt to sweep all the challenges under the carpet and hope that they can just cross over the next election. But that is not the way to go. We cannot continue to run down the energy sector and hope that another government will just come and inherit the mess. Enough is enough. We call on the ECG to restore and respect the tenets of the cash waterfall mechanism. We also call on the politicians to desist from the unnecessary political interference, which has culminated in this mess that we find ourselves. Let me also promise you that we shall investigate the bloated cost of relocating the Ameri plant.
Well, so that's the conversation on the energy sector, and graciously we've been joined on Zoom now by Kodjo He's an energy expert. He's also the spokesperson for the Energy Subcommittee, and we would have a conversation with him shortly. Kodjo, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
All right, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well too.
I'm very well. I mean, it's been a long day, but
right.
we are alive, so we can't complain. And good evening to your viewers.
Fantastic. So the conversation on the energy sector has come to the fore once again. Now, ASAP is raising questions about the shortfall of about $8.25 billion that has hit the sector between 2019 and 2023 alone, for which reason they believe that we need to take some urgent steps to address the canker. Else, we might have a collapse of our sector. Does that come to you as a surprise, though, looking at how you've also looked at the industry?
Well, look, this conversation, how does this conversation start? This conversation between yesterday and today is all because somebody saw a letter from the PURC. And it's beginning to look like everybody's gone to sleep, and all of a sudden there is a eureka moment where people are realizing that there's a problem. We all know there's a problem. And I mean, I've been working with ASAP, I've been working with the various civil society organizations in the energy sector for years. And we all know that the indebtedness in the sector is dire to the survival of our energy security. Nobody is of the view that there isn't a problem. But there was a letter which the ECG wrote to the minister, drawing the minister and the shareholders' attention. Bear in mind, government is the majority and the owner of ECG. And ECG management is drawing the attention of the shareholder, which is government, on certain steps that need to be taken, certain capital injection that needs to go into ECG to help them acquire new meters for revenue mobilization and thereof. So all of a sudden, we have people making it look like everybody doesn't care, everybody's not looking on, and there is a problem that nobody's attending to. It's not true. You see, the letter from PURC was only an advice being given to the minister based on the concerns raised by ECG to the government. So we all acknowledge the fact that there is energy sector indebtedness. But when we hear people like John Jinapor and people like ASAP make it look like nothing is being done, that is where we differ. There is a lot being done. So I just want everybody listening to us to understand that this is not a sector that you can leave it to solve its own problems. This is a sector that a lot of attention is paid to that sector to make sure, knowing that there is a shortfall which goes into the cash waterfall is one problem. Putting measures in place to make sure that you get enough money so that the cash waterfall gets enough money to distribute is a different problem. As you go day by day, new challenges comes up. And that is why you need a pragmatic approach and long-term solutions to some of these things. And some of us have come up with solutions, which some of the things that PURC recommended is bringing in some private sector participation into the operations in the sector, and with the revenue mobilization, having the retail and all that. But I don't want people to make it look like this government is not taking the energy sector serious, and this government is sitting about and there is the collapse. We've kept the light on for 7 years. And every time light goes off, somebody will come and say that, it's financial. But the lights have been on. So when people come all of a sudden and make it look like somebody is sweeping debt underneath the carpet for somebody to inherit it next year, these meter problems that we are talking about, in 2015, 2016, when the NDC had the opportunity to use $80 million to buy meters, they squandered $40 million of that into a company, which is a bogus company called LNR. And there's a company called First Grace. $40 million was used to purchase meters that came into the country that were not fit for purpose. And we've lost out on that money that could have brought in new meters into the system. Today, my brother John Jinapor, who was minister at the time, sits and say that he wants an audit. Yes, we need to audit the system to ascertain the true indebtedness and all. But not anybody, we wouldn't take lectures from people who had opportunity and mismanage the sector. But
Kodjo, if so, you agree in principle with the comprehensive audit that your good friend John Jinapor is calling for of the 100%. Energy sector, right?
100%.
You agree with that?
Because if you don't audit and you don't, how would you solve the problem? We all understand there's a problem that needs to be fixed. Look, you send 100% electricity onto the market, okay? So whatever money that is sent, we know the losses. Today we are being told by PULC that it's about 42% losses instead of the 30% that we know. Right. So we only get 42% recovery. So there is something that is not right somewhere. And I agree with everybody in the sector that needs an in-depth, around the table conversation to understand why is it that ECG is not able to collect as much as we think they should do.
Right.
But that doesn't take away the fact that a lot is being done. You see, we need to separate the two conversations.
Okay, Kodjo, so the former power minister also, Dr. Kwabena Donkor, he says that, well, even though it is true that we need some emergency measures to salvage ECG, we'll not be able to get the right benefits between now and December, looking at the short period that we are going into an election. Do you share in that? Can we be able to resolve the issues?
Continue. There's no deadline. There's no timetable between now and December. Look, whatever the process is, you recently saw a loan agreement that went through Parliament for the IMF to help the government about $50 million to acquire meters to help the sector. The biggest challenge is revenue mobilization, and you cannot mobilize revenue without prepaid meters. People have money, they can't get meters to buy. The issue of metering is a big headache, and there's a reason why some of us are proposing that we bring in private sector to take away that headache from ECG and government, so that concessions are given at the retail end to private sector for them to bear the burden of procuring meters. So nobody has to put in this thing about, between now and December. What is between now and December? The only thing happening in December is an election. But the energy sector, government is continuous. Government is not derelict on its duties because there is election in December. So this timetable of between now and December, I don't see where that's coming from.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. That's Kodjo Poku. He is the chairman of the Energy Subcommittee of the NPP Manifesto Committee. And that's how we end Insights for this evening. Well, we have got a couple of days to the major general elections in December. And so let's do some stories in the EIB Election Hub. Well, on the election hub this evening, General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Justin Frimpong-Kodjo, says the party will resist any move to compel the Electoral Commission to conduct a forensic audit of the voters' register for the December 7 general elections. According to him, the NPP will also hit the streets to protest if the request is granted, arguing the opposition NDC failed to provide evidence to back their claims of alleged missing names and unauthorized voter transfers. GHOne News' Obed King Aglo has more in the following report.
The governing New Patriotic Party has rubbished demands by the opposition National Democratic Congress for a forensic audit of the voters' register after the party's nationwide Enough is Enough protest on Tuesday. Addressing journalists at a press conference at the party's headquarters in Accra, General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Kodjo said the NDC has still not submitted any evidence to back their claim of alleged discrepancies in the voters' register. He further described the NDC's demonstration against the Electoral Commission as unjustified.
We ask, where lies the commitment of the NDC to help the EC produce a credible register when they are refusing to submit evidence of an alleged irregularity to the EC? In view of the submission made by the New Patriotic Party, it is obvious that the recent agitations by the NDC pertaining the 2024 provisional register is needless, deceptive, mischievous, and a deliberate attempt to create tensions in the country.
General Secretary of the party, Justin Kodjo, also stated that the MPP will hit the streets to demonstrate against the Electoral Commission if it grants the demand of the NDC for a forensic audit.
The MPP will also hit the streets to demonstrate against the Electoral Commission. Then it will also mean that the Electoral Commission is not consistent. Because in 2015, it's the same Electoral Commission that told us that they have the body, they have the capacity to make sure that internally they resolve issues. So we ask them what has changed.
However, Justin Kodjo indicates that the MPP plans to present certain discrepancies it has identified to the Electoral Commission for internal resolution without the need for a forensic audit.
Right, so Mustafa Bande is the Deputy General Secretary for the NDC, and he'll be joining us shortly to have a conversation on this. But the National Democratic Congress flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, has urged the incumbent government to urgently pay all outstanding allowances, including 9 months arrears for NAPCO participants, national service personnel, and nursing trainees across the country. Now, during his two-day tour of the Ahafo region, Mahama addressed the people of Yamfo Tano North, criticizing the government for the insufficient compensation provided to national service personnel. He expressed frustration at the government's difficulty in meeting these obligations despite the relatively small amounts involved.
Every year you starting national service allowance, say 700 cedis. Aban biaba bosom so you national service for. Aban wenkwa ebaya 6 months near national service omunya allowance. Teacher trainees, nursing trainees, 30 months arrears. Alawa mosumbeti metia muntia. Ezu. Now say omude ejuma bi by. You say NAPCO. Ombe training nipa 100,000. Mofa sankwade 3 years omu ye ejuma. Afe mo se NAPCO no omo awie eneti omo sika ma omo no omo nkwe me no ka say omo de NAPCO foka be 9 months arrears omo ntua omo ka yebusa vice president o se onim se omo de omo ka ene me gina ha e wo Yamfo e kai no se NAPCO e mabunu na oma omo ko ye adwuma no mo de omo ka 9 months arrears hwehwe omo sika ma omo sese a neti omo ka.
Now, the development campaign team, a pro-NDC group, has begun the drilling and rehabilitation of mechanized boreholes for some deprived communities in the Idra-Setredumase constituency of the Ashanti region. Now, the move, as part of the group's campaign strategy, is aimed at providing portable water supply for 15 communities ahead of the December 7 general elections. Ashanti regional correspondent Isaac Justice Bediako has more in the following report. Well, we apologize for that, but we'll bring you that story in subsequent bulletins. But that's it for Election Hub this evening. We're still watching News Tonight right here on GHOne Television. Let's bring you the latest in the world of business. Well, in business this evening, former President John Dramani Mahama has attributed the decline in Ghana's cocoa production in recent times to the current government's mismanagement of the sector. Now, speaking during a meeting with the Ahafo Regional House of Chiefs as part of his campaign tour of the area, the NDC flag bearer claims that most thriving state institutions during his tenure have collapsed due to widespread embezzlement of funds under this regime. Now, according to him, this has had a significant impact on Ghana's cocoa production and sales, leading to ongoing arrears and debt.
Produce buying company, a free Nkrumah Breso. Abraham maybe fear Kunyano so. Cocoa yede kwa manone 30% of sa cocoa no PBC na toy. I just say omuti omuhoka omuye omubibia yi. Ene amene o ka say PBC nto cocoa bottle back kumpo 0. I just say bought company no from banks are omoje bosia omuho omo start tonton PBC nyoma. Now there's a cocoa industry no po omo ntimi ahwe so yi. And next come GHOne na for cocoa headquarters and omudi size kano. We know can say headquarters budget for last year, 3.4 billion. Na nyomu hune se cocoa industry no se when tia ekwani ni year ene wunya cocoa nente. If you say I was say on nini je no who say cocoa no one for so mano. Asan no ahwe so ye no omati cocoa no wo de akwama no ne akoton. Enso sika no dodo na mumom headquarters moti ho na mudi ene ekwani ne de obre. Enti ama ye cocoa na tia bafom.
Now, still in business, the once prominent GHOne Bank, which had over 300 branches across Ghana, has fallen into disrepair following its collapse in 2019. Now, among the most striking examples is the Enchi branch in the Western North region, which has been repurposed into a pub. Now, the transformation of these once thriving banking centers into different uses paints a stark picture of the consequences of the Bank of Ghana's financial sector cleanup. Here is a report by Peter Kwao Adato.
Bank's prominence, likened to the morning sun shining ever brighter, has now plunged into darkness as the institution's 300 branches lie in ruin, abandoned or repurposed. Established by Dr. Kwesi Ndum, a prominent businessman and politician, GHOne Bank was once a pillar of the Ghanaian banking industry, especially in rural areas underserved by traditional financial institutions. With more than 300 branches, GHOne Bank provided banking services in areas that had never seen them before. By comparison, the state-owned GCB Bank operated only 214 branches. But all that changed in 2019 when the Bank of Ghana revoked GHOne Bank's operating license citing insolvency. The shutdown of GHOne Bank left thousands of Ghanaians jobless and stranded millions of customers who relied on its services. Moreover, its once vibrant branch buildings have now become a haunting symbol of this financial downfall. In some towns, these abandoned structures have become targets for looters. One of the most visible transformations can be found in Enchi, where the former GHOne Bank branch has now reopened as GHOne Pub. What once served as a financial hub is now a place for locals and visitors to gather over drinks. The owner of the new establishment, The owner of the new establishment, Adam Adupo, explained his decision to repurpose the building, keeping the GN name as a nod to its former glory.
GN Bank now gonna find an NCD and idea as a businessman. Mensah have maybe owners of the property now much me baby and make Mr. Betty Makana me because of location and idea no GN Pap. But the company name no there GN Pap. The company name Adam Adupo Pap.
This transformation isn't an isolated case. A recent tour by GN Bank founder Dr. Pakwesi Ndum revealed the dilapidated state of many other branches, sparking outrage on social media as images of the decaying structures circulated. Dr. Ndum had built a banking empire that was once a vital part of Ghana's financial landscape. Now the question lingers. What will become of these lost assets, and can the local communities ever recover from the bank's demise? As Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when a wicked man rules, the people groan. Peter Cole Adator's report for GHOne News.
Right, that's it in business for this evening. Well, let's bring you sports now. And in sports this evening, Municipal Chief Executive for Takwan CIM, Benjamin Kessie, has confirmed the Assembly has taken over the management of the TNA Stadium in Takwa to save the facility from further ruins under the National Sports Authority. Now, speaking on the game on GHOne TV, the MCE disclosed the facility is just under a month under the management of the National Sports Authority and has seen its boreholes, toilet facilities, among others, very dysfunctional, prompting their action.
My brother, I wish you could drive down. I don't know if you were here during the commissioning.
Yes, we had reps there at the commissioning.
During the commissioning, we collaborated with locals and everything was in order. Right after the commissioning, the next event that occurred on the pitch, water was not flowing. And it has continued to this.
Okay.
There have been so many cases that NSA is not mended. Even the borehole that is supposed to supply water, it's not functioning. NSA is not able to do it.
Okay.
Even the VVIP washroom, if you enter there today, if you don't attract cold, I don't know what else will attract. Everything is going down, even in 1 month. So our position is that if we stay here for the next 1 month, there will not be any TLA pack for the club to use to, as we speak, we are in charge. The interim committee has gone there, take inventory of everything, and they have given us a report on what to do from now.
Okay.
So we have taken delivery of the report, and then the assembly will step in to correct the wrongs that have occurred, and then, as I've told you, we will visualize our management plan going forward.
So you have the keys to the stadium?
We are in charge.
You are in charge? Which means you have the keys to the stadium, and they are with you, because the NSA have locked the place up and the keys are with them. That's what I want to find out.
That is why I said that they have every right to write or make press releases.
Okay.
But practically, as we speak, I am in Tapa.
Okay.
And we are in charge.
Now, Ghana Premier League champions Samatex FC have arrived in Morocco ahead of their crucial CAF Champions League clash with Raja Casablanca on Saturday, September 21, 2024. The team, led by the technical team, the president of the club, as well as management members and players, touched down in Casablanca today. Now, the Ghanaian champions traveled to the North African nation after a 2-2 draw in the first leg of the second round of the preliminary stage game. Samatex desperately needs a win or a high-scoring draw to advance to the group stage of the competition on their first appearance in continental football. It's time to check out what is happening elsewhere. And Guinea's most wanted fugitive, a former senior military officer who escaped from prison last November, has been extradited from neighboring Liberia along with his son. Now, according to Guinea's military prosecutor, ex-Colonel Claude Pivy will now serve his life sentence after being convicted in absentia for his role in a massacre of opposition supporters at a stadium in the capital, Conakry, in 2009. He and his son, Vernie Pivy, were arrested on the border of the two states during a routine security check on Tuesday. Now, photos circulating online showed Pivy looking frail and handcuffed alongside his son, who is accused of orchestrating the prison break that freed his father. And that's all time will allow us this evening. My name is Joshua Kodjo Mensah. Grateful for your company this evening. Do have a wonderful night.